Now it gets real. Jonah 1:1. We're actually going to begin learning the letters of the Hebrew alphabet by looking at the book of Jonah. So let's go ahead. We'll work on what are called the consonants first. Hebrew, first of all, it goes from right to left, not like English that goes from left to right. It also, when you open a book, a Hebrew book, the back is actually the front. When I was in seminary, I actually had a Greek New Testament and a Hebrew Bible bound together. If you opened it from the English way, it opened to the Greek New Testament. But if you turned the book over and you opened it from the back, it began with the Hebrew Bible. So no matter which side of the book you started with, you were beginning either the Old or New Testament. I thought that was pretty neat at the time. You can now buy prepackaged books like that. I had to have it bound myself in the 1990s, but you can buy it now that way. A Hebrew Bible and a Greek Bible open from either side. But I digress. Let's talk about these letters. The top are mostly what are called consonants. And then these little dots underneath, those are the vowels. They were added later to help us understand, what the sounds should be. But in modern Hebrew, if you pick up a modern Hebrew newspaper, it's not going to have these dots underneath. It's not going to have the vowels. That means, of course, that Hebrew can be written in a much more concise way than some other language. What is 1st and 2nd Kings in my Bible, in the Hebrew Bible, is just Kings, because it's half the space, half off, because the vowels in Hebrew aren't generally written in the main text. Well, let's get this alphabet, shall we? I'm going to call that a vav. Now, the older pronunciation, maybe even in Bible times, it might have been a wow or a w sound. Modern Hebrew does vav or v, and so I'm going to go with v. You can do however you want. That's a yod. So we have a V or a W, depending on how you want to do it. And there is a transliteration chart in the sequence. If you look in the sequence, you'll find a transliteration chart which tells you how to convert into English letters the Hebrew letters. I might add that there isn't always an exact equivalent. Alphabets aren't the same from one language to another. Sounds in one language aren't exactly the same from one to another. So it's kind of difficult to map sometimes the Hebrew letter to an English letter. I'm going to follow the system in the transliteration chart in Udemy. I might also add, if you go to Psalm 119 in different Bibles, if they have the sections, the letter of the alphabet that begins each section of Psalm 119, you might notice from Bible to Bible that even the names of the letters of Hebrew are spelled differently in different Bibles. It's difficult to systematize a English system or a Roman letters that correspond to the Hebrew letters. But I'm gonna do a V myself for this vav. It's like a stick up and down. And by the way, I do have another video in this sequence on Udemy that has an alphabet song if you want to learn it in a more systematic way. And I recommend you doing that. But for the moment, we're learning it inductively. So we have a vav, we have a yod. That's transliterated as a y. We have a hey. What, the hey? It is transliterated with an H. And then we have another yod. See, two yods. Now, this one dot is called a hirik yod. That's actually kind of a vowel. E, the E sound. So the way you pronounce this is va-yahi, va-yahi. Now you don't need to know that. Don't be overwhelmed. We're doing this inductively. It'd be easy to get overwhelmed. The key right now is learn these top letters. What are these top letters? And we'll do we'll do it over and over again, right? We're going to see these letters over and over again. So remember, what is difficult today is easy tomorrow. Don't sweat today, because tomorrow it's going to be easy. So vav, yod, hey, yod. Second word. This is called a dalet or a D. Duh is the way I'm going to pronounce it. This is a bait. Bait can have a dot in it. Then don't sweat it, because we're going to do this over and over again. But I'm going to pronounce it because it doesn't have a dot in it. I'm going to pronounce it like a V. And then this is resh. I'm going to pronounce it like an R. So we have Vav, Yod, Hey, Yod. We have Dalet, Beit, Resh. Okay? This is Davar, is the way it's pronounced. I'm going to transliterate this as a B with a line underneath it because it doesn't have the dot. Again, you don't have to know it. Don't worry, I'll do more on transliteration later on. In fact, we may sit here in Jonah for a little bit. Then we have Yod again, Hey again, Vav again, and Hey again. So these are all letters that we've had before. This is a very special word. YHVH or YHWH, depending on how you transliterate the Vav. So this is Yahweh. This is the name of God, often transliterated with all caps, Lord. Whenever you see Lord or God in all capital letters in the English translation, it's translating the name of God. My name's Ken. Our God's name is Yahweh. So they didn't even say this. Pious Jews today don't say it. The vowels underneath don't match it because they didn't say it. Now, at the time of the Old Testament, they probably did say it. Somewhere in between, I think, Malachi and the time of Jesus, they stopped saying Yahweh. So I always feel a little bad when I say Yahweh. Pious Jews today would say Adonai, Lord, instead of Yahweh when they get here. But I'm going to follow Isaiah's lead and actually pronounce it. So this is Vayehi Davar Yahweh. What does it mean? It means, and it was the word of Yahweh, and the word of Yahweh was. But we don't need to know the translation. We're going to do this over and over again until you get it, okay? So, Vayehi Davar Yahweh El Yonah, to Jonah. So this is the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It's an aleph. By the way, this dash is called a makif. It's just a dash. It's not a letter. So this is aleph, lamed. Lamed has a quaff on its head. Lamed he's always got that. He's like a llama. He's got a long neck. Anyway, it sticks up a little bit above the line. If you were to draw a line across the top of these letters, the lamed goes up like he's got a special hairdo there. So El is how this is pronounced. Two, aleph, lamed. Let me review. Vav, Yod, Hey, Yod, Dalet, Beit, Resh, Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey, Aleph, Lamed, another makef, Yod, Vav, Nun. Here's a new letter. This is the letter N, and then another Hey again. So Yonah, El Yonah, Ben Amittai, son of Amittai. So this is another bait. We had a bait before, right? This is what's called a final nun. So this is a nun in the middle of a word. This is a nun at the end of a word. What? How is that possible? How can Hebrew have two different forms of the same letter? Get used to disappointment. No, there are only a few letters that do this. I think there are 4 letters that have a final form that's different from either the initial or the middle form. Nun is one of them. Beit, final nun. Ben, or son. Another makef. Aleph again. This is called a mem. It is a M. We haven't had a mem before. Then we have a tav, and then we have another yod, a mitai. Then we have a lamed again. You see the quaff? Got a little quaff on the head. An aleph again. Another mem, and another resh. So we already have had all of these letters. So putting it all together, Vav, Yod, Hey, Yod, Dalet, Beit, Resh, Yod, Hey, Vav, Hey, Aleph, Lamed, Yod, Vav, Nun, Hey, Beit, Nun, Aleph, Mem, Tav, Yod, Lamed, Aleph, Mem, Resh. Now, I suggest that you pause this recording and do it yourself. Go through it and do it yourself. Let me pronounce it for you. You don't have to be able to pronounce it yet. Remember, what is stressful today will not be tomorrow. What is hard today will be easy tomorrow. So, again, just get a bag, take a little breather. You'll be fine. How do we pronounce it? Vayehi davar Yahweh el Yonah ben Amittai lemor. And it means, and, the vav is and, the word of the Lord, the word of Yahweh, was to Jonah, son of Amittai, saying. Well, this has been your first Hebrew video in Jonah 1:1. The game is afoot. It all gets funner and funner, well, more fun and more fun from here on out. This is Hebrew on Udemy.